and so on. But a good old friend of mine, there was these guys sat under the flat, outside my flat, a number of weeks ago, about 3 months ago. A friend of mine started yelling at them, and actually, I think she was going to flash her bum at them as well, but they were clearly police or officers or whatever in a car, just sat there, long time, until she started abusing them.
Wow, so this is over several days they were there?
No, this was hours on this particular occasion.
Okay.
And I did point them out to her, and she says, yep, that's the law, you know. So she starts slagging them off.
But it's not an offence to sit outside your house.
No, it's not. It's not. It isn't. And they could have been perfectly innocent people. But the second you actually start, hey, you know, harassing them back, what happens? 30 seconds later, blue lights come literally screaming along the road outside the flat, and this police car, jam sandwich as they're popularly called, does a U-turn, drives off at high speed, and the car behind it follows him. So, you know, very low-level harassment. That's the sort of thing that goes on. Now, you know, I don't imagine for a second a policeman in the local police station is actually going to want to get, you know, things like, go and park there, can be said to them. I don't know how they operate. And I don't intend to get paranoid about it.
No.
But it's nothing really worth going into the detail of. They have their ways and methods. You know, I've come down to London a few times in the last year, and they've made themselves known. I have been reliably informed that that means that they don't perceive you as a threat.
Well, you're not writing books.
Nope.
You're not writing as a journalist or articles about it, are you? But you are speaking publicly. You are appearing on television shows like this. I know you've been on Eerie Investigations, for instance.
I'm doing what I used to do in business. I'm going out and meeting key people, making the connections, and so on. So maybe they perceive that as a greater threat, because it does concern me. I haven't actually seen them on this trip all the last
These people you talk to, do you ever get the impression when you're talking to people who work in finance that actually they do know?
In finance now? No. No. I've been able to talk to a number in finance and explain it to them, and you can see the light bulb go on. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, hell. Yeah, we could print it ourselves, couldn't we?
And do they then get angry, or do they seem concerned?
No, it's sort of a more natural human response of just sort of slipping back into the way things are.
Well, like
not
we've
worrying
been conned.
about it.
We've all been conned.
Don't worry about it, you know.
But let's get back to this farming thing. We're all being farmed, okay? In what way are we being farmed?
Well, if you consider that every individual in the country, in some way or form, whatever job they do, is putting their labour and their time into creating whatever they do. Much of that draws on global resources, natural resources, but there's a leech issuing the currency as a debt. So if you want to set up a business, you have to go to the bank and borrow the money, repay it at interest rates, and so on and so forth. Whereas, in fact, if it was not issued as a debt in the first place, you could borrow that money and not pay any interest other than maybe a fee for arranging it and so on. Because obviously people need to be paid for doing stuff. So it's literally raping the planet, the global resources. And this is the cause of global warming and so, or whatever.
And this is called usury, isn't it, anyway?
Usury.
And yet most religions, usury is illegal, including Christianity.
Of course.
And Judaism and Islam all make usury illegal, and yet they all seem to do. Maybe I'm wrong about Judaism.
Judaism was the one religion where they could. So going back in history, the Christians would use the Jewish moneylenders because it was okay for them to do it. But usury, I mean, I remember as a kid sort of growing up and you've read the Bible and reading all this stuff and you hear about Jesus going and stonking the temple and having a go at the money changers. And well, what's that about then? You know, why was he a bit annoyed about that then?
Well, he was Jewish anyway.
Yeah. What was going on then? Because the Bible doesn't tell you. But actually, when you do research, that has a tremendous story behind that bit.
What was the story then?
Oh, no, don't go there. It's long and drawn out, and I would need my notes to refer to some of the names. But usury is the real problem. That is the problem. It doesn't, because we don't need it.
So we're all being used by the usurers.
Yeah. A common question is, well, hang on, if you can't lend money, then how can anything work? Oh, print it yourself. That's the answer.
But you can't. That's
but within
illegal,
limits.
isn't it?
Within limits. Sorry, I meant the nation printed itself, not the individual.
No. So the nation. So the British people should have the money printed, and then how would they have it? It wouldn't be given to us, would it?
In exactly the same way as it is now. You would work for it, you would earn it, and so on. But the companies would not be set up with debts.
Mark, we're going to go for another break now. Once again, if you'd like to text in your questions or comments to Mark Cocking, why not do so now? Just text 87778 with the word EDGE, and then your text, and we'll see you back here soon. Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest, Mark Cocking. This is the last section of the show. So hopefully this is one where we're going to get some answers to what people can do and so on. And I know one of the things you feel that we can do, and this is not about banking, is not paying your BBC television licence.
Well, yeah, that sounds a bit minor set against everything else. What's happening around the country is that there's a movement, John Harris, I think you've spoken to.
John Harris, yes, tpuc.org, yeah.
That's the one. Go and have a look at tpuc.org. And it's about standing up against, in a lawful way, lawful rebellion, standing up against the system as it stands. Because, as a friend of mine, or Charity Sweet would say, it is all bollocks, the whole thing. And you can stand up against it. So one example of that is the TV licence at the BBC. Now, a classic example, actually, I believe you had Jane Burgermeister on the other day. Now, I wrote to the BBC recently pointing out that there is an argument, which seems to be backed up by scientific investigation, quite clearly, that the vaccine for the swine flu that's going around is potentially lethal, very dangerous anyway. And that if they are actually putting out, doing what their charter demands of them, they should be saying, there's two sides to this story, and they should be looking into it. But nobody mentions anything about the risks associated with this. Jeremy Vine on his phone-in, you try and contact them or you send them emails, nothing gets mentioned. So I did complain officially to the BBC, and they wrote back very politely after a few days, pointing out that, in fact, it is consensus opinion among doctors that the vaccine and Tamiflu, which was created by a very well-known person in America who's profiting from this, is safe. Oh, well, so suddenly the BBC are reporting consensus opinion, and that's their job as far as they're concerned. So I and many others have suggested that they should at least put the balanced point of view, because when things start to happen, if people take this vaccine, then we will come back and get them, because they are not fulfilling their charter, and we will not let them get away with it. And one way of doing that is don't pay your TV licence fee.
And you think there's a legal way for you to do that?
Well, there is. You send them a letter, and if you look on tpuc.org, it is there. It is actually illegal to pay money to anyone who is committing a treason, and there's a very plausible legal case that they are committing a treason against the people and the Crown in this country.
And you're saying that they're doing this because they're accepting money from the EU and it's not an EU institution?
That's right. They've accepted money from the EU, and that's why they're always pressing the EU policy. Now,
well, I'm not encouraging you to do anything on the show, but you handed me this letter. This is your letter.
That's right.
To Sir Michael Lyons at the BBC. He's the chairman of the BBC, apparently. And in this, you give the reasons why you are refusing henceforth to pay, or it's a notice before action. So you're going to send this, are you?
I'm going to send that.
So, as I say, I'm not encouraging you to sign it, but, oh, look, there's a pen.
Oh, flipping heck. What's my name again?
I believe it's Mark Cocking.
That's the one, yeah. There we go.
OK, well, you better take that letter then, because you need to post it, don't you?
That's going off, and you can track it
if
you
indeed
want.